Hello. This is my last day, full day at Guatemala. I have had an amazing time here. It has been absolutely wonderful. The first day that I got here was on a Saturday, and I got here late. The next day, I had the opportunity to go to Antigua, Guatemala, and I took a tour. It was absolutely amazing and beautiful. I saw my first volcano. When we were here, it was the preparation for Holy Week, or a couple of weeks before Holy Week. So every Friday and Sunday, there was processionals that would go through Antigua. And when we got there, they were preparing for the processional. So we got to see the floats. We also learned about the role of the church, particularly Catholicism and colonialism with the Spaniards, and how that impacted the Mayan brothers and sisters, and the slavery that happened in Guatemala, particularly in Antigua, as well as all of the convents that were around, and how, because there weren't a lot of men, and they needed the men for security, that the women were the ones who you gave your first girl to join the convent. You had to pay, which I found was a lot of money back then. It would be something like $100,000. And if you didn't have any money, you would go to a free one. But once you got in, you could never see your family again. If you had money, the convents were nicer. There were beds, better food. If you were poor and could not afford it, often it would be a life of silence, and you would sleep on the floor. You were isolated from the community for the rest of your life. Guatemala and Antigua is very, very beautiful. You can definitely see the colonial rule. As in every square, there would be the church, there would be the governor's house, and then there would be military. The next day, I got a chance to meet the staff, the Guatemalan staff, and learn about the work that is happening with AFSC. AFSC partners in Guatemala, partners with different organizations throughout Guatemala. So, for example, HOVI is one of the organizations that they partner with the local peace networks. They also partner with local politicians, and also the policia, and other people who can contribute to peace. So they work with the young people, they work with the police, and they work with schools. And the hope is that all of them will be able to come together to begin to have dialogue for peace. Ironically, one of the things that is happening to me since I've been here in this is that my English is slipping. So I can't think of words to say in English because I'm constantly thinking about how to translate it into Spanish. I believe probably if I were here for another 2 weeks, I would really get it. That was the first day of just learning about the programs and how it works. That night, unfortunately, one of the communities where AFSC doesn't work, in one of their prisons, there was the killing of a guard. That caused there to be fighting between the prisoners and the guards. They were afraid that would cause problems in other prisons, juvenile centers throughout Guatemala. So the next day we were supposed to go visit another organization called HOVI that does conflict and resolution and peace building through play and theater. So we were not able to go there because they felt that it was not safe. One, because it was very clear that we were not Guatemalan, especially me. And they didn't, and plus our group was really large, and that they felt that we could potentially be a target. The good news is that the youth who were going to meet at the community came to the AFSC building in Guatemala with their staff and their young people. So there ended up being about 20 staff and young people who participated in the first trauma healing through hip hop workshop that I provided. The first day went really well. I focused a lot on introduction to hip hop and also getting to know each other and looking at resiliency and what trauma is, and then looking at their I am statement. We had to end the class early because it's very important that the students get home before dark and that all their taxi is and everything is ready to go so that they can get home. We ended with a closing ritual, and young people seemed very happy as we did an assessment of their joy. I wasn't sure how the first day went because there were a lot of technical difficulties with recording, and then I was by myself, and with the language barrier and having a translator, which was also a huge lesson, and just having a translator in the space, especially at the end when we do like repeat. So peace, they say peace, love, I am because you are. So I had to say it to the translator said it, and they repeated what the translator said. So it worked out really well, but there were some glitches to work out with. The second day that I came, we did the second part of trauma healing and hip hop. It was amazing. The young people we did house dance, so I taught them some house, and we also did theater. And then we created from the different sections, I am, I have, I can, and I do. They created resiliency books, and they worked in pairs, and they discussed it. And then when it was over, the young people, we did a go around what this experience was for them, and what they last thoughts or things that they want to share. Maybe 4 people in, I got nervous because we were over time. But the coordinator said that this was very important because sometimes young people don't get a chance to really talk about how they are feeling. And young people really opened up. And the major comment was that they were happy to take time to reflect on themselves, that they sometimes forgot that they could dream, and that they have hope for themselves and for their community. Some of them talked a lot about hip hop, and that some of them didn't like hip hop before, but realized that hip hop wasn't that bad. A lot of them just talked about taking time for them. One person said to remember that they are loved. Another one said to remember the positive things about themselves. So there were many, many things that were great. I'm gonna stop because I'm in training and someone needs to talk to me. I'll come back later. Peace out.